Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. From July 9th through to the 13th, 2018, the Department of Computing and Information Technology will host its 4th annual Computing Boot Camp. Here to tell us all about it, we have two lecturers, Dr. Phaedra Mohammed and we have Kyle De Freitas. We're very excited to have this conversation. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, and thanks for having us.
So, when we hear about boot camp, we don't normally think computers.
It's true.
What is this all about?
Well, the boot camp is an initiative of the Department of Computing and IT, and our focus is on really providing an opportunity to expose young people, particularly in the Form 5 and 6 category, to the principles of computing. Making it fun and interesting, giving them an experience of, what does it actually take to build, a lot of these software, a lot of the games, a lot of the technology that they enjoy, both on their laptops, their phones, etc. So it's really focused on giving them that experience.
It sounds like a lot for Form 5 and Form 6 students, would you say?
Well, we actually want to expose them to what computer science is about. It's assuming no knowledge. So
it's very basic.
Very basic. We give them the core fundamentals that they need to understand in order to get a little bit of a grasp as to what this field is about. So the intention is to give them that confidence, that understanding, so that they can make a decision. Is this career for me?
Yes.
Is this something that I would like to explore? So typically in Trinidad, we tend to go traditional: engineering, medicine, law. But the world is changing. The fastest growing field is in computing. Number of jobs are skyrocketing. So this is something that we have started probably about 5 years ago. Right? The initiative was headed by Dr. Permanan Mohan. He's the current head of department. And we really wanted to get our young people involved, get them knowledgeable, get them enthused about computing in ways that are gratifying, that are easily accessible.
Wonderful.
I think one of the things too on that point is, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the world of technology, of software seemed, this far-off concept that only the very brightest could have achieved. And generally what we have seen is that there's a push now towards getting, even in the formative years, programming, they have toys, they have little tools and trinkets that teach them the fundamentals of programming. So yes, it is geared towards people who have no experience, but they will be working with things like robots, they will be working with voice recognition systems, visual recognition systems. So it's really exciting to be able to take this set of skills that were previously locked up in the vaults of further studies at universities and bring it to a stage where even students at Form 4 and 5 could appreciate and experience.
Dr. Mohammed, you said that one of the main goals of this is to get them enthused and interested. Would you say that over the 5 years that they have been?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've been tracking a couple of the previous participants, and we're very happy to say that many of them have gone on to do degrees in computer science locally and internationally. In fact, we may have one of our mentors coming on this year. He was a previous participant last year, and he said, I love this so much, I want to be a mentor this year. So he's at a university in the States. Don't want to release names yet because we still have that on the wraps.
What does it mean for us here locally, as you mentioned, locally and internationally? What does it mean for us here locally when our people excel in computer science?
Well, I think it's a building of the industry. There's a general trend, or there's a general problem of trying to figure out how do we diversify the economy from oil. What are the skills that we possess as a people to be able to bring in revenue and create new opportunities. And one of the barriers, one of the main components that we have is skills. Computer science is not a new thing to Trinidad and Tobago, and we have a lot of software development firms. We have a lot of investment in the development of the ICT capacity of Trinidad and Tobago. So the general benefit of being able to expose more of them at a younger age is that more persons would study both locally and internationally, and as they return, they create new opportunities. As more people realize the things that they can do with this knowledge and these skills, it creates more spaces, more avenues, more opportunities. Things like augmented reality, you know, things like the same robotics that we're focusing this camp on, you know, are opportunities for new industries or growth even in existing industries, you know. So again, it's part of that ICT plan for the government to diversify, but also it is part of the university's plan to be able to equip, you know, the next generation, so to speak, with the necessary skills to build those, especially those skills-related capacities.
Yes. Dr. Mohammed.
I would definitely add to that the entrepreneurial aspect of it, because Trinidadians are very creative, and computer science is one of those fields that offers something for everyone, whether you're purely mathematical, theoretical, algorithmic, you can go deep into that area. Whether you're into digital arts, filmography, performance arts, there's something for you there. Whether you're into design. So there are so many different avenues that entrepreneurs, that young people can now take advantage of. And this is a prime time for us. This is the age of AI, this is the age of computing.
Yes.
And locally, there is so much potential.
That's a great point you raised there.
I mean, you can do so much with what you have right here.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, artificial intelligence, as it pertains to marketing and that sort of thing. When we look at people like Amazon and Whole Foods and all of what they're doing, it's where we're headed. It's evolution. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as I said, this is the age of AI. A lot of the technology that was previously, as Kyle said, locked up in those vaults, they're now easily accessible through simpler means. So all of that knowledge, all of that expertise that was previously locked up is now accessible. And in the camp, we're actually going to expose these kids to some very heavy techniques in a quite easily digestible way. So he mentioned vision and voice. Some of the robots that we're going to program will be able to recognize an object and say, this is a cat. Now that involves a serious amount of algorithmic processing and different types of techniques that requires years of study, but they can still access it. They can still understand it. They can still realize, all right, this is the potential. And that is where we really want to drive them.
Yeah, and even that, you know, the same techniques or some of the technologies used for that recognition is the same set of techniques that are used for the recognition of, you know, what we would be interested in on Amazon. You know, Amazon has a whole section that says, you might be interested, here are some recommendations. The principles for those two things are the same. So, and one of the things that we realize is as computers become faster, as our phones become faster, the ability for these systems to better understand our behavior and give us recommendations that are useful becomes better. So, and again, you know, there's a lot of implications for that, both good and bad, of course. But one of the things that we believe is that as educators, as an institution, as we instill proper values, then the chances of more people using these technologies for good increases.
It's quite exciting, wouldn't you say?
I'm excited.
I can tell. Very passionate about it as well. Which brings me to my next question. There's a myth that computer science, it's a male-dominated field. What are your thoughts on that as a female lecturer?
Well, I am amongst the few. However, that has not prevented any of the women in our faculty, in our department, from excelling and taking advantage of it. And yes, there is a significant gender gap internationally, and yes, we do see it at the university.
Yes.
But again, it all deals with what it is you want to do. What can you envision yourself as succeeding at? And indeed, it is male-dominated, but we definitely need to have our perspectives out there, because if we do not, as women, represent, the designs become skewed. The directions become moved into a particular way that would disadvantage a particular group in society. So this is why we really want a lot of the young people to come out and participate. I do have to say, though, at the graduate levels, there are... It's reversed.
Really?
It's reversed.
That's interesting.
So at the undergraduate, you'd find a lot more male to females, but at the graduate level, maybe women are a little bit more persistent.
Just saying.
Just saying.
So let's talk a little bit about the focus of this particular. No, it's not the first time that you're having an event like this.
This is the fourth event.
It's the fourth event.
Yeah.
So this year the focus is on robotics, as you mentioned. What were the focus back then?
Well, maybe the first year, what we focused on, and even though it is still part of what we do today, we focus on providing, a sort of UE experience. Again, because in UE we believe we have a very special product. So what we did earlier, we sort of said, this is an orientation into what we cover, or the knowledge areas that we cover at UE. So we give them exposure to database, we give them exposure to web development, we give them exposure to the fundamentals of programming, algorithm design, etc. And then we sort of shifted towards a more thematic priority, So I think last year we did robotics, but we didn't do a theme in robotics. So this is an evolution of what we did last year. So last year we focused on just simply the mechanics of getting robots to work. And this year we said we could go beyond just the mechanics of getting a robot to do things, but we could actually focus on, well, what are the skills that we are using, our ability to talk to the phone and have it respond and understand what we're saying. Can we introduce those kinds of mechanics as a thematic priority for them to see and understand and appreciate?
No, it sounds exciting, but it sounds difficult. But you said it's been broken down into digestible pieces.
Yeah, so to add on what Kyle just said, theme has somewhat transitioned. So first we started with code, and then we moved over into web, a little bit of web. And then last year we introduced robotics. And now this year we're introducing sensors and cameras. So just a little bit, small increments in a different direction, so that it's not too difficult for someone to come into this.
Yeah, and the key is no prior experience.
That's my next question.
Yeah, no prior experience, never having done programming before. And I think what really drives them, again, from our experience with the camps, is really that interest, that passion. A lot of these young people spend a lot of time playing games in front of the computer on social, like Facebook, WhatsApp, and a lot of them want to do more, but it's just the barrier to entry. What do I do? You know, and what we're doing is saying, hey, it's easy. You just start and you work your way up.
Right.
Of course, it's a very guided process, so we provide a lot of the material, give them specific areas to focus on. That makes it easy. But ultimately, once they get into that way of thinking, they go off on their own and they could do other things.
It's pretty hands-on too, because we will be giving them materials to learn from, and then right after you dive straight in. So the very first day that they come, they're going to be programming those robots. At the end of the day, they're going to see that little guy move.
That is just amazing.
They are getting it right from day one. So it's not about, okay, a lot of teaching and then maybe a little test. No. Every single day you're with that robot.
So this is only for Form 5 and 6 students?
4, 5, and 6, yeah.
So adults can take...
Well, we've actually been getting that request fairly often. I think maybe as interest goes on, we could see how best, because one of the things that we realize is, at that age group, they absorb information much quicker.
Makes sense.
There's an affinity for the material. No. I mean, one of the things that we believe is that, programming is something that anybody could pick up, and again, because we have a model of how do we structure and we deliver, then as we understand the pedagogy behind teaching adults a little bit better, we could transition to that.
How you put it.
Well, this camp is more to expose them to campus life. What is it? What is it that we do on campus? What kinds of research that we do? If you want to get into this field, what sort of careers can I get involved in? So it's more of a university type camp. Therefore, for adults, we would definitely have to have a different structure, a different thrust. But certainly something to consider.
Sure.
So let's look at the actual event. It's July 9th through to the 13th. Can you provide me with an agenda for each day?
Sure. Well, as I said, from day one, we get deep into the content. Well, we get into the content from the very first day. And then by day 3 or so, they would have sufficient knowledge to work on a little project. So last year, they had the robots solve mazes. So we put them into a little handmade maze, and the guys would go through, play music, and all sorts of things. Every day we would have different events. So we might have a campus tour. On one day, we would have a speaker coming in from industry. We actually have a guest speaker coming in from Vertana, which is a locally based robotics company. And then we have another guest speaker who's a former student of the Department of Computing, now at Google. in England,
Wow.
a machine learning engineer. So he will be Skyping in to give the kids, you know, all right, this is where I am. And I started right where you did, from Trinidad and
This
Tobago.
is great. You've had tremendous success stories.
We have had a lot of success out of our department.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we haven't done a good job of selling it though, but
yeah, we're academics, so we're getting used to this marketing.
And how many students are currently enrolled in the program?
I think right now we have about
15. We're at
15 students.
So we're maxing out at 40. So there's space for a lot more.
So it's open to any secondary school student?
Any secondary school student. Any secondary school student.
So how do they register?
They register on the bootcamp website. To give the URL is a little long, but most of us familiar with Google. So if you search UWI, DCIT, bootcamp, it's going to be the first link at the top.
Okay.
Again, we could give the URL, but that's just long.
Yes.
So you search for UWI, DCIT, bootcamp. It's going to be the first link that comes back in the Google search result. And on that page, there is a registration link that they can click and they can fill out the details.
It's fully online.
It's fully online.
Yes.
Is there a deadline for registration?
The 6th of July.
6th of July, just 3 days before the
3
event
days before
starts.
the
Is there a cost?
The cost is $12.99. Yeah, so so again, the earlier you register, the better. Of course, we have a cap of number.
Yes.
So the first is more or less first come first serve. So it is in your best interest to register early.
Yes. How do you feel about this initiative?
I'm excited. You can see I'm bubbling over. It's last year was so inspiring, and it really does so much for us as educators when we see these young kids come in and just cool and really grab on to the principles. And I love to be able to take everything that we do in research and give it back and show them this is what you can reach, this is what you can touch. This is not far from where you are right now. It's inspiring, it's engaging, it's rewarding.
What
So,
led you to get into this field?
into computing?
Yes.
Well, initially I wanted to get into medicine. I wanted to help people. I wanted to do something to give back. But as I got into biology and so on, I realized, okay, this is not for me. These living things are a bit, they're cool from a distance. But so then I thought about computing. Can I get into some sort of field that will give back? And eventually that led me into research. So my area of research is applied artificial intelligence in education. So figuring out how to take these technologies and help students learn better. And coming through those different ranks, I realized, listen, I can help people still. I can still do something that is rewarding, that is engaging, that is gratifying, and that gives back. So
Yes.
that was my impetus for ending up here.
I'm thinking your interest wasn't on living things either.
Not really. My interest was more along the line of exploration and understanding. Yeah, biology and medicine, no. I just had a natural curiosity about things. So I used to do a lot of investigation and trying. I always knew I wanted to be a scientist. Now, exactly what scientist I wanted to be, it wasn't clear to me until I got into this programming thing. And understand that all of the games that I played and the foundation of all of that was this programming. And that kind of drove me towards computer science. So I did choose computer science as this is my profession because I understood that that skill would allow me to do all of these interesting things like building websites and mobile apps
Wonderful.
and games and all these kind of things.
Thank you so much. Very quickly, is there a number to call for further information?
Yes, you can call the department at 662-2002 extension 83080.
Great. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure having you on this morning. Picture little robots running around on my set this morning.
Sure.
Next time, perhaps.
Next time.
Next time.
Yes. News is up next. Stay tuned.